All right, everybody, thank you again for coming out. Again, my name is Stephen Gale. I'm the organizer of the Dividing Lines Symposium. Tonight is the day one of the two-day symposium. Tomorrow we're going to be having an all-day conference, including panels, individual presentations, discussions, cultural presentations, as well as film screenings during lunch. I first would just like to say that the experiences of African and Native peoples in the Americas are intertwined and very complex, as you can see just from these narratives that were shown. This symposium came from my own need to understand and preserve the totality of my heritage, despite historical attempts to erase that. And so I feel that's a need that others also have, so that's why I decided to create this symposium to kind of explore that topic. This overlapping diaspora of African and Native people needs to be evaluated in more substantive ways. So what I proposed was an interdisciplinary symposium designed to create comprehensive studies surrounding African American and Native American linkages throughout the continents. And so this today and tomorrow is essentially an experiment. So I appreciate you guys joining me and kind of seeing where this is going and developing this further. And hopefully this will be an annual symposium. I would like to thank our volunteers from the KSU Library System, its leadership, faculty, and staff for helping make this event possible. Firstly, Dr. David Evans, Dr. Linda Marie Bowie-Louis, Ms. Diane Bridges, Darian Hales, April Schleicher, Jennifer Jacobs, Sarah Cantor, Kevin Jackson, and Joseph Carter. I would also like to thank our other sponsors, the KSU Office of Diversity and Inclusion, the School of Conflict Management, Peace Building and Development, KSU Museums, Archives, and Rare Books, the Cultural Awareness Resource Center, and the Atlanta branch of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, as well as the newly incorporated Afro-Amerindian Research and Cultural Center, which will aim to continue to create research and events of this nature. So tonight we will have West African cultural showcasing from Unconfo, Run Dance, as well as Native American cultural showcases from Alice Gilstrap, representing the Cherokee Nation, and Lauren McLeod, representing Catawba and Shawnee cultures. Following these cultural expressions, we will screen a series of short films ranging in genre, depicting the African and Native diasporas in various capacities. So next, we can have a few words from Jennifer Jacobs, the Strategic Marketing and Outreach Librarian for the KSU Library System.
Hello, everybody. I'll make this brief. I'm here representing the library as a whole, I guess. I just wanted to thank everybody here for coming. I wanted to thank the performers and the presenters who are going to be here tonight and tomorrow. If you haven't already decided to come tomorrow, I urge you to. It's going to be awesome. And I want to thank Stephen for bringing this to the library. We're very excited. I also wanted to say, if you haven't already seen any events that are coming to the library this February, please do. These are little plugs, I have to. We also have a book sale coming up in March that goes to, all the proceeds go to the Friends of the Library, which further goes to support our student success. It helps with providing supplies for our students, and then it helps bring events like this to our students. So that would be great if you guys would come out and support that. So thanks again to everybody for showing up and all our performers. Super excited to see everything. So thank you.
Now trust me, I promise, hand to the heavens, I will not turn Beyonce on you up here. I won't. I'm not going to go off and leave you hanging while you're up here. It's going to be basic. You're going to show out. Trust me. Okay? So, we're going to come and get you, but don't run, okay? You ready? Don't. If I come close to you, you can't. Don't turn away. Come on, baby. You want to dance? Come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Brave, yes. You showing this a little? It's gonna be cute. You gonna wish you was up here in a minute. I'm telling you. Come on, Brave. I know it's some more brave souls. Yes, come on. Another. Let me get one more man. Come on. Come, and we are ladies. We need the energy. We need it. Thank you. Thank you. I know we have some more. Let me see if I could just get over here and just squeeze in here. I see some. I feel the dance energy over here. Let me get you. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Now you can't let it down. That's your audience. You can't let it down now. All right. So come on. I know we got a couple more folks in here that really want to dance, right? Don't be afraid. Take off your jacket and hand it to your neighbor. They'll hold it for you. They will hold it for you. Thank you. Now give these young people a round of applause. And they're going to show you how it's truly done, okay? Now we're going to do a dance called Soli. Can everybody say Soli? Soli. Now Soli comes from Guinea, West Africa. It's a very popular place when it comes to djembe music. You see these instruments in the back. This is the home for it. So a lot of the movements that you saw us doing today will come from that area. And we love to dance Soli because it's for both men and women. So everybody gets to show off their moves in this dance. So don't feel any kind of way if you'll be like, what's she about to do? I don't want to do that. Don't feel any kind of way. I got something for everybody, okay? So we're going to get a little feel for the rhythm. You heard it earlier, but I'm just going to refresh your memory. So we're going to start the rhythm so we can get into it before we start to dance. So let me get my rhythm. We're going to start. I'm going to change our movement, okay? I was working hard. So, we're going to do dansa. Dansa hails from Mali, West Africa. All right? This dance is done for all occasions, celebratory like tonight. So we are very honored to do it for you now. Thank you. Throughout the rest of your entire year on 10. All right? Thank you all so much.
Thank you again. Thank you. I mean, the fact that they even braved 285 at rush hour, came here, and it still had a smile on their face, that is a round of applause in itself. So thank you. Okay, so up next, we're going to have our Native American showcase, beginning with Lauren McLeod, representing the Catawba and Shawnee cultures. So, without further ado, pardon me while she steps out real quick. How's everybody feeling tonight? Thank you for coming here on a Friday. Yes, there's a lot of other places you could be, even with free pizza. So thank you. And again, just a reminder, tomorrow we're going to be going from 9 to 5, roughly. We're going to have opening presentation from Dr. Seneca Vaught. Some of you might know him, as well as Gary Van Valen from West Georgia University, and Sky Moss from Corning Community College in New York, discussing the African American, Native American diasporas and intersections internationally, specifically focusing on South America. We also have, following that, Joyanne Williams from Cage Archives is going to be discussing their upcoming Cherokee Archive exhibit, which is going to be housed here at the Sturgis Library. And so we have a nice little lineup. So check your booklets. Make sure you tell a friend. You know, if we have an overflow, we'll find a way to accommodate. And thank you again for coming. And again, Lauren McLeod.
So I'm going to demonstrate for you this evening a Southern Plains traditional dance. I'll do the exhibit first, and then afterwards I'll kind of describe what it is. Hear me? This is special. It's been a pleasure to dance for you. I always get a little chuckle inside when someone invites me to do an exhibition because generally speaking I have a lot of space to cover, and so this is very small. So in my head I was really thinking like, here I go in a little spiral, fringe, on her beat, back at it, you know? So the traditional dance is an old dance. Typically women didn't enter the arena. It was more of like a male thing. And then as the powwow progressed south and became more of a social gathering, the women came into the arena. And so when I started on this side, that's something that you would see, excuse me, I came to like a northern traditional dancer, and they sort of stand in place and they scrub. They don't really move much. So that's where I started. And then I enter into the arena and I make a small spiral. And from an aerial perspective, at some point, I would complete this adventure and I'd be somewhere in the middle. And the object is for me to move my fringe as if it's blowing in the wind without physically moving my shoulders. So it's all in the step. It's like a toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel. And then those honor beats, those 3 hard beats you heard, are where I bow. And figuratively speaking, I'm searching for my mate's prints. I see that they're there. I stand back in confidence, and then I continue forward. So I was introduced to this dance at 6, and I danced Comanche style. This dress visually is a plains dress, but my ancestors are from the Carolinas and the Ohio Valley. My mentor gave me permission to wear this dress, and my mother made it. The first dresses were cloth, and the one that I had for the longest time was the skull buckskin. This is the same leather, we repurposed it. And so this is a commercial tan leather, and I want to point it out because this is made with chemicals, and it's not necessarily good for fabrics. Whereas this one that I'm wearing for you today is brain tan. So it's kind of hard to believe, and I've always been a little skeptical, but your brain has enough lecithin in it to tan your own hide. And I'm almost 6 feet tall, and I got this little pea brain, so I'm a little skeptical, but that seems to be the case. So from the beginning, this has been a family project. My father is a frontiersman, and he does a lot of the utilitarian art of my ancestors. He live off the land, make stone tools. My mother's a craftswoman. She's a historian, and she's very fond of making era-specific pieces. She made this leather. So I got engaged, and I didn't get married, but I wanted a white dress, so this is where this came from. And so my mom, at 50 years of age, with COPD, helped me, and it's like such an honor. She's such a beautiful mother and elder to like embark on such a project. But this dress is called a 3 skin. So it has a piece here in the front, a piece here in the back, and a long piece over the shoulders. And again, I'm a tall woman, so it's very difficult to find leather that was long enough to cover me. And this is all buckskin. My father killed 6 hides. Again, the 3 in the dress, and then in the fringe here, and then the boots make up the other 3. So the embellishments are plain for the most part. Northern women have just really intricate beadwork, but just to point out some key pieces, I have this breastplate, and typically on a southern dancer, they're really short, and this would accommodate for horseback riding. Whereas a northern woman, her breastplate's gonna come all the way to the floor. And then I have some very simplistic beadwork here, some geometric patterns, and it's in colors that are very typical for Comanche. So it's just very geometric. Let's see what other embellishments. These are mezcal beans. These are native to the southwestern United States and Mexico. They were used very commonly by the tribes in that area for divination. They're hallucinogenic. They were later abandoned for the peyote cactus. I do not recommend eating these. I feel like I should put that disclaimer out there. Along the sleeves here, I have these 19th century 2-hole mother-of-pearl buttons. And these are collected by my great-grandmother and sewn onto my sleeves. Now, I want to point this out because this is something that would elevate me in status. So as I mentioned before, this is a period piece, and this is something that you would probably see on a woman in the mid-1800s. And so here is myself again, and this is another Comanche style, and so it has certain characteristics that would denote me as Comanche. But she's wearing red trade wool, and so at that time, she would be considered of a higher socioeconomic status because her family had the luxuries to trade such an item as wool. Let's see what else. So my hair ties here are mink, and I have my part painted here with red ochre, and it's mixed with beef tallow, which is animal fat that's been rendered. My family reuses the entire animal. Meat goes to the freezer, the bones become tools, the tendons become sinew, the bladders become bags, the brain goes, it's a process, and all of it is used. And the other pieces that I have with me, are, let me back up. Okay, so the most distinctive Comanche piece that I have on me are my boots. So this is actually a little risque, so bear with me here. But typically, it's a boot. It has a hard bottom and a soft top. And the bottom's going to be very plain, and you're going to have some simple embellishments at the top, which are conchas here and some geometric patterns. And to just sort of offer you a little bit of contrast to some other boots, these are woodland style. these are what my Shawnee ancestors would wear. It's got a soft sole, the toes here are puckered, and this vamp is very intricately detailed. It's got applique, this is moire ribbon, this is kind of difficult stuff to work with. And it has little concho pieces. The Shawnees love conchos. These are going to be a Northern Plains style moccasin. This is a Lakota moccasin. This one's been modified, so it has a hard sole. Usually it would be soft. Maybe don't quote me on that, but this is lazy stitch, and it has the patterns that are going to be very distinctive to Lakota. And so my mother made all of these with permission from their respective tribes. My sister married into a Lakota family, so these are her boots. And then I have another Shawnee style dress that isn't yet complete, that I have this here for. So the other and the last accessories that I have here are a shawl. This is again this beautiful applique maroon work. This is kind of a Shawnee characteristic. Before the relocation, the Comanches and the Shawnees would have been in contact with each other briefly, so that information could have been exchanged. In my right hand, I have this bag. It's got the wood piping and it's got cowrie shells on the bottom. Southern women usually have round bags, and northern women usually have squared bags. And then here I have my prayer fan that I carry in my right hand. Some gourd stitch here on the handle with some twisted fringe. And this is turkey, macaw, and pheasant feather. This was reworked in the last decade because my sister got the other half of the fan. Women can only work on feathers postmenopausal, so this has been a new kind of change. And the last accessory that I wanted to mention, I'm actually not wearing. I would have a feather here on the right-hand side, and the right-hand side is the modern way to suggest that I'm not married, but I'm not wearing it today. And the reason I'm not wearing it today is because I'm experiencing my menstruation. And that's a really awkward thing to tell you, but it highlights the particular customs and taboos that we still follow today. I'm considered polluting, so I can't touch anything of ceremonial significance, including hawk or either feathers or drum or even another dancer. But I can wear my dress, and it's been a pleasure to dance for you guys today. And if you have any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to take them.
Did you pick your own feathers, or how is that done in terms of tradition?
Those feathers were my grandmother's feathers. They were given to me when I was a young girl. You aren't supposed to drop your feathers, and when you're a child, you have a tendency to do that. So do something that's not very significant. If you drop a feather in our custom, it can be taken away from you. And so it's not something you want to risk. And then the feather that I have, my eagle plume, is very special to me. And so I only wear it for special occasions. I don't want it never out with it.
Yes, you might have mentioned it, but what was the significance of the red?
This is red ochre. It's a common paint for a woman of Comanche status. I don't honestly know the symbolism for it. Red is usually a sacred color. I honestly think it's just sunblock, just to protect my part from the sun. But it's animal fat and red ochre, which is a stone that's been ground. Yeah. Anybody else? All right, I'm gonna.
Is there a reason behind the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I think it has something to do with women being polluting during their cycles, or and it's mixed messages that she'd be more powerful or just not in control of her energy, and so they usually feather work is done by women, but it's only done by women of postmenopausal age. So, yeah. All right. Pass this back to Steven.
Okay, so up next we have Alice Gilstrap representing the Cherokee Nation. And we'll take a brief intermission while we. Thank you again for coming out and sharing with us.
I'm going to do something real quick that, well, yeah, I might as well use that. I'm going to do something real quick that some people may normally not see from a dancer who's about to dance in this sort of setting. So what I have here in my hand is tobacco. I know we're a tobacco-free campus. I totally get it. I'm not smoking this tobacco, however. This is 100% natural, additive-free tobacco, as in there's no chemicals, there's no bad stuff in this tobacco. And so normally before I'm about to dance in, let's say, an unfamiliar setting, or I'm feeling a certain way, I will take this tobacco and I scatter it around the area. It's normally meant as a blessing to either protect me or to protect other people, because not that you guys aren't great or anything, but I don't want any impure thoughts or anything bad coming onto me that I could potentially take with me back home. So I'm going to hand the mic back to Steven, scatter this tobacco, and then would absolutely love to dance for you guys. So. Whenever it catches on your feather like that, it's actually called clotheslining. You know that moment whenever you accidentally run into something and it kind of throws you back and you're like, whoa, what was that? Yeah, so a lot of us tend to do that. This feather on the top of my head is very, very tall. So normally, if I were to wear it at my full height, which is taller than this, you know, over a foot tall, I would run into doorways, into tents, into other people. It's not a good look. So I usually try my best not to do that. But unfortunately, with putting my shawl on, it really can't be helped. It's a very large piece of fabric. This shawl has been handmade by me, and I'll later go into the significance of this and the history of my dance as well. So the song you're about to hear may sound very weird to you, very fast-paced to you. You may not know anything about it. Well, good thing I'm here. I can tell you all about that kind of stuff, whether you want to hear it or not. But you probably do. So excuse any awkward banter that I may have. So super, super loose, really easy string tobacco. And I normally take it and I ball it up in my hand. And I'm so sorry for the cleaning staff who may be here after this, but it's not really a lot. And I just let it fall on the ground, so it's nice and it's blessed and it's ready for me to work. And I'll just adjust this and I'll get them to go. Go for it. Ignore me being out of breath. All right. So, I've been dancing since age 4. It was 2 months before I turned 5. And this doesn't really get any easier. It, as you age and you get older, it can sometimes be much more difficult to dance. I'm lucky that I'm 21 years old, blessed, especially in this town. And everything that I did out here in this arena, on this dance floor has a significance to me. Everything that I wear has a significance to me. And it's very, very, oh God. It's very, very important that I tell you all of this to potentially knock out some misinterpretations that people have gotten about Native Americans or Native communities, or how we dance in general, as I untighten my belt. So, the dance I just did is called the Old Style Fancy Shawl Dance. Fancy Shawl, the dance style itself, is the newest dance on the powwow circuit, and it started in the early 1900s. So, the oldest styles of men's and women's dance are going to be men and women's traditional. So, for example, what Lauren danced just now is going to say women's traditional dance. Women's traditional buckskin, which is the oldest form of female dance. So, women's traditional, they kind of, I wouldn't really say get fed up. But they're like, oh, so we want to do something a little bit different. We want to dance a little differently. So starting in the early 1900s, they took that buckskin that they had and the shawl over their arm that Lauren used earlier, and they started to dance with it. So they wanted to have a little bit more pep in their step, I guess. And it worked. So they started using footwork that came a little more off the ground. They didn't start spinning like I did until much later, but they liked the groove, they liked how it felt. So then, fast forward a couple years, maybe 10 or 15 years, and they changed it a little bit. They said, we want to be a little bit more free, because that dress, that buckskin dress is heavy. I've danced women's southern buckskin. It is not easy. It's very, very difficult. And I did not have brain tan. I did not have a brain tan dress, unfortunately. It was chemically tanned, and there's a big difference. So they started combining their buckskin dress with cloth, or they shortened the dresses, they made the sleeves longer, they removed the fringe, things like that, to distinguish them and free themselves in a way. And so they took, let me see, oh yeah, got it right here. So this right here is just an old silk scarf. It's not old by any means, it's pretty new. So this here, they would take this in their hand, normally their right hand usually, and they would dance with it as if they had a shawl on their arm. And eventually they abandoned this practice because they wanted to do something a little bit different. So then they said, okay, we're going to toss it out the window and said, screw it. So starting in probably the 1940s, 1950s, they put this shawl over their shoulders. The shawl I'm wearing here is made by me. Most of everything you see wearing on, that's worn on my body right now is made by myself. If not, it's made by someone who is Native American or someone from that community. And so they put the shawl over their shoulders and they said, we're going to add a spin to it because it's harder and it looks cooler. So that's exactly what they did. And most dancers these days do not dance old style anymore, usually because it seems antiquated. They don't want to. Or they may not like the freedom that current day contemporary fancy shawl gives them. Contemporary fancy shawl today is one of the most competitive forms of powwow dancing. The reason why is that it's beautiful and it looks a lot more graceful because you spin. There's a lot of spinning involved, in some cases footwork involved. People can debate on that however they want. And they have a lot more applique, shinier, brighter fabrics, things that catch the eye and make them look amazing. So in my case, since this is old style, I use more muted, demure fabrics. So this shawl here is normally a gabardine cotton blend, so it's kind of resistant to wrinkling. You don't want any wrinkles in your shawls or anything because then it takes forever to iron them out. The fringe is just a dark red. The dress I'm wearing here, this green dress, it's brand new. I made it just in December. It's wonderful. And so it's just a cotton with the ribbon work here on the sleeves and on the bottom of the dress. It's very simply made. There's fringe at the bottom to lengthen the dress. We have a thing in the powwow community with modesty. I swear, if you see a dancer out in the arena who has a dress that's too short, someone's going to say something. Someone's going to tell someone's mom or cousin or aunt or uncle, and they're going to say something to that girl. Not because we're super crazy with modesty, but because it's tradition. So in this, if my dress, oh, my legging turned around, that's unfortunate. So with my dress, if it went above my legging, or my legging came off, I'll just leave it like that, you know, screw it. If it came above that, then I would be deemed in a way immodest. Even this is such a work question. I'm going to take my shawl away because it's really, really hot. Thank you. If you can touch, it's fine, it's no big deal. So yeah, as you can see, my leggings can get turned around because of the force of what I'm doing. I normally pin them in place, but I did not do that today because I was busy and in a hurry. So I'm just going to turn these back around and make myself feel better. That's as good as I'm going to get, that's okay. So the modesty thing, yeah, we have, If it's above your leggings or if you see knees, normally that's an issue. With guys, they have similar terms of modesty. Unfortunately, I'm not a man, so I don't really know too much about that realm of life. So, for example, these furs here these are real. These are otter furs. It was originally an otter pelt. So down here, you'll see the feet, you see the tail, and it's stitched up from the inside, because it was originally be a lot wider, and it would come up and smack you in the face. It really, really hurts. So they're tied together here, so it stops yourself from doing that. The oldest thing on my body, to be the most precious thing on my body, besides this thing here in the middle of my head, my center, is the belt that I'm wearing. So you'll see with a fancy dancer, a fancy shawl dancer, contemporary or old style, and even super old style, they tie their belt in the front, like I did. It's kind of loose now. But they tie their belt in the front, so if you turn around, excuse me, you can see all the beadwork on the back. Let me see what else. Yeah, this dress, look, this belt was made by my grandfather. I'm 21. He made it a little over 22 years ago. Unfortunately, he's passed away now. He was a fluent Cherokee speaker, reader, writer, and historian. So, the Cherokee language is endangered. There are only about 3,500 fluent speakers still left in the United States. Keep in mind that Native Americans had a huge population before colonization, and even up, we had a pretty decent population until 1700s. We were decimated by disease, smallpox. God, everything that you can get a vaccination for today, we got and we died. So, we ended up losing some of our traditions, like the language we speak. So I speak conversational Cherokee, because it's really, really hard. Who would I talk to? No one, except for my grandfather, of course, but he's dead. So, if I were to introduce myself to you, the language sounds very, very strange. Some native languages have been lost completely. They're extinct. However, Cherokee still maintained itself pretty well. God, at least we're not dead yet. So, there are originally 3 dialects: lower, middle, and overhill. So the lower dialect was active in Georgia, northern Georgia, until about the mid-1800s, and then it died. We have middle. The middle dialect was normally spoken in North Carolina by the Eastern Band of Cherokees, the EBCI. And then we have the overhill dialect, which is spoken mostly in Oklahoma. You guys ever heard of Tahlequah, Oklahoma? That's a Cherokee word. Tahlequah normally means 2 becoming 1. So I don't really, unfortunately, know the exact history of Tahlequah itself as a city, but it's very important that we all know our history about these cities and about these words. So a lot of Cherokee words in Georgia. You guys ever heard of Dahlonega, Georgia? That comes from the Cherokee word Dahlonegay, or Dahlonegay. Dahlonegay means yellow. So they found gold in Dahlonega. Really bad stuff happened after that. So they named it Dahlonega, Georgia. They're a little bit easier for English speakers to understand. Tallulah, you guys know the word Tallulah, like Tallulah Falls? That's also a Cherokee word. It only means rumbling waters. Things like that. Really great for all the Tallulahs that we know these days. So for me, speaking conversationally and things like that to preserve our language tends to be a bit of a big deal. So if I say hello, you guys are totally welcome to repeat this because you might as well, you need to learn something while you're here. So if I say hello, I can say it in one of 3 ways. You guys know how in Spanish, if you say something proper, it normally is completely different. So if I say hello in Cherokee, and I'm saying it formally to an adult or something like that, I say osio. You guys heard that before. New Girl mentioned it in like the first season, yeah? Jeff said it. So it's normally osio. Or if you want to be a little less formal, you can say seal. Just take the O out. Or if you're in the North Carolina area, you say shield. It's just a little bit different. I use language in a great many ways. I use it to avoid telemarketers. So people who call my house. My grandfather used to pick up the phone and random words in Cherokee all the time. And they would hang up. I had one guy ask him if he was speaking Spanish. It was great. I don't know why, but it was awesome. Because it sounds a little bit like this. Osio, dohego, kado ushidexno. Alas takodoa, hanfant daganti, Cartersville, Kennesaw, Diego. So I just said hi. So my name is Alice. I asked what your name is, and I said I asked where you come from. Where do you originate from? Where are you born? Cartersville is originally my hometown, or Kennesaw, at least these days. Diego. That's where I live. That's where I'm from now. Let me see what else. Yeah. So I'm so sorry for making this so casual. I really hope you guys don't mind this at all. I'll go into real quick just to say everything that I'm wearing right now, like I said, has a significance to the dancer. So these designs here that are on my beadwork are not Cherokee designs. They're not. They're based on the belt design that's around my waist. Some people be like, well, why did you do that? Well, it was for an honoring thing to honor my grandfather. I also have a traditional tattoo on the inside of my right wrist. No, it does not say a curse word. I've had people ask. It literally reads grandfather, maternal grandfather. You call him a bududu, which is the word it is up here. Yeah, so yeah, notice our bududu. Yeah, that's how it's spelled in English, and I just touched something that I shouldn't have, that's great. Anyway, so, for example, the designs are here on my mocks, on my leggings, everywhere. The colors here are significant to me also. Traditional Cherokee colors, usually for siblings, we grade it. So the firstborn sibling, traditionally in Cherokee, wears red. Secondborn sibling wears blue. Thirdborn sibling wears green. Fourthborn sibling wears yellow, and then after that, they really don't care anymore. So I had people ask me, oh, that's a red dress, you're wearing red, are you firstborn? No, I am the last born of 3. I have 2 older brothers who are also tribal members, and I was telling a professor of mine earlier, we were raised completely different, 2 completely different cultures. My brothers are mostly Americanized, mostly English. I'm not. Let me see, what else? Yeah, so with the colors I have blue dresses, green dresses, red dresses. Doesn't really matter, I change them. I make them all myself, of course. And everything here, especially this, I will explain real quick, this, as it was messed up a little bit, unfortunately, by the horrid clotheslining incident. I'll iron it out later. It's called a center. So you'll see some dancers with this kind of feather. I'm holding it very, very tightly for a very specific reason. So this feather here is a golden eagle feather. In the United States, it is a federal offense to be caught with any eagle parts if you are not Native American. So if you're in the car, see an eagle on the side of the road, I did this with a buzzer blocks. Put it in the back of your car, and you just keep driving, and somebody pulls you over and they catch you with those, you will be arrested. You can be sentenced from 5 to 10 years in prison because they will believe that you killed that animal. It is a federal offense, it is illegal. So in this case, I carry a tribal card or something in my car to say, hey, I'm allowed to have this. And I'm very, very careful with it. If this were to fall on the ground, my feather could be taken away from me, just like Lauren said. If someone at a powwow, their feather drops or falls, it's normally made into a big deal. Cameras are shut off. No one is allowed to record. And they normally get a vet of some kind, a war vet, a combat veteran, to say a blessing over that feather of some kind, pick it up very carefully, or cover it with a cloth usually, and then take it away, and or sometimes return it to the dancer, but that's not always the case. So this feather was gifted to me when I started dancing seriously, competitively at around age 15. I started getting good at around age 18, and I'm 21 now, so you know, do the math. And it was, I think, one of the best gifts I've ever been given, and I take extremely good care of it. This feather here is false. So this would normally represent an eagle plume. Eagle plumes, I have them, but I usually don't wear them because they're kind of small. So this is an imitation plume. It's a dyed turkey plume. It's made to look, it's a very, very, very good imitation. I've had people think it is real. It is not. And I'll say this really, really quick before I stop for like a question or two, and so Stephen doesn't kill me later. Because he's done a really, really good job with all of this, and he's been super, super great with everything and everyone. And Lauren and I are very, very grateful to be here and to be able to talk to all of you today. I will say this. So, unpopular opinion or not, I think that a lot of young people today forget where they come from. Where you have your ancestors, you have people who fought tooth, nail, grit, all this amazing, wonderful stuff. Doesn't matter if they immigrated from somewhere else. Doesn't matter if they're from England, Wales, South America, Japan, it doesn't matter. I think a lot of people today, either with, I don't know, social media or whatever, they're living their best life, and that's fine. But remember where you came from. Remember your parents. I love my parents. Remember your families. I get a little bit emotional talking about this topic. Remember your families and your friends. So I know my family tree backwards and forwards. When somebody old dies, we have a saying, a library burns down, all that knowledge disappears. So I think that a lot of people today need to take a good look at where they came from. Their ancestors, the people that they fought for, maybe not knowing their progeny, their descendants would exist. Maybe they didn't know that they would be here in America or in other countries, or trying, like us today, like Lauren and I and other people that we know, trying to preserve our culture and keep it alive because we're dying. Some of you may not be dying, or maybe we are, but that's totally different. Maybe be culturally dying. And I think it's very important to take a look back behind us and learn lessons from people in history, know what to do, what not to do. Remember your great-great-great-great-grandmother with the crazy name that nobody really cared about. Remember the great-grandmothers like mine who got married at 15 and sold popcorn at a movie theater for 10 cents. Remember my grandfather who had to lie in the civil rights era and say he was Italian because he could get beaten to death. And having to hide yourself and hide your culture and hide who you love, I think, is a crime. So I hope that you take something from Lauren and I, being up here today. And I really hope you take something home with you. I really, really hope you enjoyed us doing this. I love doing this. I love being a student here. I think it's awesome. but as I'm walking around campus, no one knows this person. And I feel like if they did, they wouldn't understand. So right now, I'm open to maybe taking one, I'm so sorry for that, I apologize. If anybody has any quick questions, I'd be welcome to take those. Yeah, what's up? Am I what? Lauren and I sisters. Although we are beautiful, we are wonderful. No, we are not sisters. We can say normally in Native communities, you have people who are like, that's my uncle, that's my aunt, that's my cousin, or whatever. Normally we're not blood related. We're culturally related, and we get to know that person super well. So we'll say that's my brother, that's my sister, things like that, and we mean those bonds. They normally last for a lifetime. So no, Lauren and I unfortunately are not sisters. I would love to have tons of nieces and nephews of my own. We're from 2 different tribes, but we tend to share most of the same values, for sure. Did you have a question? You raised your hand earlier. What's that?
Does Native American have child?
Do Native Americans have children? Oh, yeah. Okay, so on most reservations, at least in the United States, reservations are kind of small these days, unfortunately, because the government kind of screws people over sometimes. So we have reservation schools, where, for example, in North Carolina and in Oklahoma, we have language immersion schools where starting from whenever they're younger than these kids here, like talking preschool age, they start learning their language. So if I were raised in a reservation school, I'd probably be a lot more fluent. I only learn either from my grandfather, or there are great programs online where you can learn native languages, even if you're not native. If you're just really, really interested, go ahead. Like, it's super awesome, really, really great, and people are extremely open to teaching others about our culture, so long as they're not misusing it or misrepresenting it. Anything else? Or keep in mind also, you're allowed to ask a question after this too. What's that? Oh, okay. So I grew up in a Cherokee household. I had a saying growing up that I was raised in 2 worlds, a red world and a white one. So yeah, it was super, super weird. My grandfather was the one, I went over to his house, it was completely different. You'd eat traditional food. So we have something called like Three Sisters stew. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. We call it an ogama. An ogama is a stew. So it's normally made with beans, corn, and squash. Those are traditionally known as the Three Sisters. And we eat that, we eat rabbit stew. All natives have eaten fry bread at some point. If you have, it's delicious. It's so bad for you, but it's so good. But whenever I would go like back to my dad's house or back to like other family, it was kind of weird. And growing up, I was told at one point to choose. And I don't think a kid should have to choose between what cultures that they love or what they enjoy. You can be bicultural, and that's totally okay. So I made the decision to keep dancing and keep being a student and trying to educate the general public about Native culture without ever misrepresenting any other tribe. I like to represent the Southeastern tribes well. And I think I do a pretty good job of that at this point, especially with trying to educate about learning the language and also cultural appropriation and things like that. I think more people should be very, very aware of that happening today. Anything else? Yeah?
Does the shapes and the symbols hanging off here, does it represent?
Okay, so the symbols here and everything, here on my beadwork, all this beadwork and everything that I wear is handmade. So these weird little flowers here, I like to say they represent roses. I've had some people say, what was it? What was that famous? Tulips, there we go. So some people say they represent tulips. My grandfather happened to love roses, so he picked out that design. So you'll see a lot of little roses and things right here on my headband or here on my choker. We'll either call it a choker, sometimes what do we call it? Crap, I don't remember. That's bad. Yeah, so, but these other else here, so this normally represents the 4 directions, but traditionally in Cherokee culture, there are not 4 directions, there are 7. So in Cherokee culture, 7 is a big number. So there are 7 clans, 7 colors, and 7 directions, and 7 of lots of other things that not a lot of people care about, and that's totally okay. So the 7 directions are north, south, east, west, everything above you, like the sky, everything below you, the earth, and it all turns back around on you, because you're the only one leading yourself in this way. So you are the ultimate directions. I like to say, oh, find a little direction in your life, I'm just going to keep walking, because this is exactly what I have to do. This here is also meant to represent a medicine wheel. So I'm currently wearing one on the top of my head. Where is it? It's right here. It's a quilled medicine wheel. It's held down with some bobby pins. It's finely made. I didn't make it. A good friend of mine, Anthony Lett, made it also. And it tends to represent those 4 directions and all coming back around in big circle. And some people wear medicine wheels for actual medicinal reasons. They want to be healed. For example, I carry not only a medicine wheel, but I also have a buzzer feather hanging in my car. You know where some people hang fuzzy dice? I hang a buzzer feather there. Traditionally in Cherokee homes, the buzzard was used to ward off disease and infection. They normally put it over their doorway. That's why that one time when I was maybe 16, I picked up a buzzard carcass off the side of the road and put it in the back of my car. That was a bad idea. I couldn't get the smell out for days. And so, but we took the feathers, because you know, the feathers go to waste, and that's what eventually ended up hanging in my car. So I use that to help ward away disease, infection, accidents, things like that. It's a traditional thing. I mean, some people say that it totally doesn't work, it's just a placebo thing or whatever. I'm like, well, it's cultural. I can't really explain completely why we do it, but I do it because it's me. Anything else? Yes, Professor?
I just wanted to say how amazed and impressed I am by both you and Lauren. You have this, depth of connection to your culture, and you can see it in your movement, and you can feel it in the way you talk about your families. And I just want to say it's just very beautiful. So thank you so much to both of you.
I really appreciate that. I'm sure Lauren appreciates that also. We try to do our best to really grow up in tribal ways and really learn everything that we do, because we think it's important to pass it on to our kids and to our children and things like that. My grandfather was a dancer. My mother and my aunt did not dance. My mother speaks very little Cherokee, which is I think it's a beautiful, wonderful language. There are 84, sometimes 83, 84 symbols, like an alphabet almost in Cherokee. It's an extremely difficult language to learn, but I think it's absolutely fabulous. Great way to mess up telemarketers and throw them off their game for sure. We try to embody everything that we are and what we do. So for example, if I'm walking around campus and I'm just in a normal, I tend to wear gym clothes a lot because I'm lazy. So I wear gym clothes like I'm going to the gym and no one will suspect anything. Because I normally don't wear anything that outwardly says, hey, I'm Native American. That's great. I normally don't do that. But whenever I dress like this, my attitude completely changes because we like to represent ourselves well and represent who we are. I think that's an extremely important thing to do. We never want to bring shame or dishonor on anyone. It's just awesome. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Go to get authentic
Documentation. Okay, all right. Let me see the best way to answer that. So, we have a lot of people these days. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in a powwow and somebody's come up to me and said, my great-great-great-grandmother was a Cherokee princess, and I've had to sit there and blow their bubble and watch all their dreams fall down the drain whenever I say they didn't exist. That's not a thing. Cherokee Nation never had that. We didn't, seriously. So you might think like, Pocahontas, one of her names was Matahuaka. So Matahuaka, she was the daughter of a chief, a daughter of one of the many wives of the chief, and people styled her as a princess because of that status. Well, Cherokee Nation didn't have that. That wasn't our thing. Most people today, they tend to believe in urban legends passed down through their family, and that's totally fine, but 9 times out of 10, those legends tend not to be true. So we've had a lot of people, for example, try to do research in their family tree to see if they have Native American ancestry. 9 times out of 10, they don't. And even if they did, it's very, very difficult to track that, unfortunately, because keep in mind, a lot of Natives were listed on rolls or in government documentation as being African American, or something along those lines, or mulattoes, for example, people who were biracial, because they look different. My grandfather had to hide who he was for years and picked cotton in the fields by his house for like 5 cents a bag. So if you're trying to find real information about that, if you have a hunch that it might be from a specific tribe maybe or something like that, then you could search through what we call the DOS rolls. If you think it's a southeastern tribe, you can look online. It's normally free to search. You usually put in a last name, or let's say a distant ancestor's last name that you think may have had Native ancestry or something like that. And then if you can, the more specific the better. Age, there are multiple spellings of first names and last names, which makes it even harder. It's the worst. And then you put all that in and everything. And sometimes, 9 times out of 10, you'll find something really, really cool and interesting. My ancestry has been traced back, especially to Chief Chilio Shubutsu, the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma. He was awful, he was terrible, but I'm descended through his first wife and his kids, and his son William, who went on to have tons and tons of kids and live a happy life away from his terrible father. You're welcome to look it up on the internet if you want. Chief Chilio Shubutsu, he was terrible. But sometimes he was, I'm so sorry, he was awful, but I mean, come on, I get it from somewhere. They're seriously free to search. If you look up, I'm so sorry, you guys. I feel like I'm filibustering up here, this is awful. I really hope I'm not boring anyone to tears. But there are, let's say if it's not from a southeastern tribe, you can look through rolls or through tribal agencies or things like that through, let's say, if your tribe is from Maine or something like that, then you can look through there. If it's from a western tribe, it may or may not be easier. It depends on their policies and their tribal sovereignty and what records that they have from that time. I noticed that people from out west tend to have their documentation better preserved than the south and southeast because of the Trail of Tears, which we call the Trail where they cried. where some Cherokees ended up hiding in the mountains of North Georgia. A lot of people ended up rolling around. Some, very few settled in Tennessee if they could, get away. Literally one of the worst things ever was a death march. And then some of them, made it to North Carolina, settled into the EBCI there. And then they ended up getting to Oklahoma, where, a lot of them have settled and flourished and become an amazing, awesome, wonderful community. A lot of records have been destroyed, which is a real pain. It took a lot of searching, and even then it takes years to get stuff actually documented, because there could be 5 people with the same name. I've had that happen to me. Except my relatives seem to have really, really weird, awkward, horribly misspelled names, so it made it a lot easier. It was pretty great. My grandfather did most of that research. Anything else? I'm so sorry. I feel like I've been the worst person ever. I've been so
Thank you again, Alice. So now at this time, we're going to start